I mean, the
Hard
question I
thing
want
to
to
train.
ask was like, but is it much easier to coach when you know you've got that support and you don't have to get to this point in the next 2 years?
Well, our chairman, Dennis Richardson, and his board extended me last year because the journey we're now taking in regards to the young recruits. And he knew that was going to have to take a little bit of time. He's going to have to be some patience with these younger players coming in and debuting in the NRL and starting their careers. Fortunately, a lot of these younger players have really taken the NRL by storm. But that's why they gave me that opportunity of extending. I didn't ask for it. I got an opportunity to extend, and to be honest, I was 50-50 with it if I was going to or not.
Really?
But then, yeah,
Why,
no.
Steve?
Well, I still had 2 years left on my contract. But Dennis wanted to have longevity, and he wanted to have. He didn't want change with these younger players with the coaches, and so we sat down and went through it, and then sat down with Dennis and Simon. Don's never involved in any contract or extension with me. It's purely up to the chairman. So that then gives me the courage to make tough decisions. I feel for these coaches who go in on a 2-year, 3-year deal and they're expected to have success today. And if you're taking over a roster where you've got 4 or 5 players that you don't think are going to be able to play your style of football or help you win a playoff game, you've got to make change. But there's not an abundance of talent that's available every year in regards to your recruitment. That's the difficult part. And I still remember day one when I got the job at the Raiders. I got all the players in. I said, the one thing I want to do with this joint is make it competitive again. Because if you're competitive, you're in the 8. If you're competitive, you're playing semi-final football.
Do you still think, Stick, you've overachieved this year? And a lot of people do.
Yeah,
a lot of people had you running last.
Yeah, but do you think they all know the game? Do you think
No.
Who came down? Who came down?
Can I tell you, Stick? I had the Warriors last, and when you knocked them off in Vegas, I got on the plane. I thought I was a genius.
Mate, I'm the worst tipster at work. I'm the worst tipster in our tipping competition. But mate, all those people who said you're going to come last, that's all. It's a joke with me. It's all well and good, but
do you use it?
No, not really. At the start of the year, yes, we had a look at it and we thought, well, a couple of things. Not one of them came down and had a look at what we were doing for training. Not one of them came down and had a look at the actual talent we had. And Buzz, we were, our initial goals was to make the top 4. We wanted to make the top 4, and I can honestly sit there and talk about that because I know the quality of the kids that I had coming through. Now, was that going to be hard? I would have loved to have made the top 8. So realistically, I would have loved to have made the top 8, but we challenged ourselves. We wanted to make the top 4, and we've been fortunate with we've been pretty healthy. We've got a couple of we've had a couple of bad injuries, long-term injuries with Sav and Matty Nick, and they're on the way back. But as I say, and it was not. No, I don't see it as disrespect, or I don't see it as us against them with the journalists who said that. But how much research goes into it?
I guess we just look at your top 30. We look at your draw. You had a horrific draw with all that travel. And we didn't know Ethan Strange. And in fairness to these, we didn't know he was going to be an absolutely special player.
He was probably the one player that I did least amount of video on.
Really?
When I was bought the vision in regards to Ethan, I don't sit here and exaggerate. I don't need to. I reckon I watched 2 to 3 minutes of it, and I said, well, let's get him down here, let's have a chat. Adele, his mother, came down with Ethan, and all I talked about was how I was going to look after him off the field. His game would look after itself. He had the same tendencies in regards to his defence as Jack Wighton and Laurie Daly, the way he hit and dip, and his running game reminded me of Munster and Laurie, and Jack. He's as tall as Jack. He's as big as Jack.
Tough too.
He is.
I love what you said the other day. Comparing him to Laurie, and then if you're gonna play at this level, you got to take that pressure on.
You got to. There's no good me pussyfooting around with these kids.
No.
I mean, I'll cuddle them and look after them when I need to, but they've got to handle pressure. And it might be the issue we have going into the playoffs this year. They mightn't be able to handle the big stage yet. But the one thing I know, win, lose or draw, this is going to be the unbelievable education for this young group going forward.
Stick, you say you don't cuddle this young fella, right? But I watched the Xavier Savage documentary, and I nearly cried watching it because of your care for your young footballer, kid who came down homesick, you know. Geez, you're tight with them. You seem like you treat them like they're your kids.
Well, I see them more than my kids.
Yeah.
I'm with them every day. You know, they get a day or two off a week. But I understand there's a life behind the footballer. I understand if that life is healthy, if that life is happy, they're going to train and play better for me. And Buzz, I see that as a form of care, and that relationship, that connection, is leadership. And you don't need to be bashing the tables. You know, I was talking to a high performance coach yesterday. He came down to have a look at what we were doing from another sport, and he asked me about my sprays on the players, and I laughed. I said, mate, that's all bullshit in regards to sprays. I said, I can't remember the last spray unless it was a poor 40 minutes and the half time. I had to have a bit of a word, but like it's the Xavier Savage situation, Ethan Strange. Yeah, I do cuddle them. Of course I do. Behind the scenes, where they need to cuddle, but they've got to be hard. And that's where I say, if you can't handle the pressure, you don't make it at this level. And, you know, there's times where they've got to handle the pressure on their own. There's other times they need someone to put their arm around them and say, listen, we're going to go this way.
What about when they leave? Like, I think of when you got emotional when Jack Wighton left that press conference.
Yeah, he's a mate. Jack's a mate. I hate seeing what he's going through. I don't talk to Jack a lot now. There's no need to, but I see Jack tomorrow, nothing changes. That's what real mateship is. It's like a little bit like Dean Pay. Dino will ring me up and I'll ask him how he's going, what he's doing, and he's on the phone shrugging his shoulders, grunting and groaning and saying nothing. I said, mate, who's ringing who here? You know, like
yeah, right.
But with Dino, we don't need to talk.
Yeah.
Johnny Cartwright.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need to talk every week to consolidate a friendship.